I have a very special guest, guys. Clay here represents a very, very unique category in the roofing industry. He was the first one, and I met quite a few later. He is the lawyer who decided to be a roofer. Imagine that. So if your parents want you to be a lawyer, you can say, you know what, I'm going to be a roofer instead. Clay, how's it going?
It's going great. Yeah, I can tell you on behalf of your parents, we can save them $100,000. Skip the law degree.
Love it. So when did you make a decision to quit being a lawyer and get in the roofing industry, and how did it go? Have you ever regretted it?
I've never regretted it. It was such a lifestyle improvement. I mean, so you have to remember my first job out of college was selling gutters. I mean, so I had a background in it. It wasn't wholly unfamiliar. And then I was working for Rodney Webb, when he was a small business owner, and I had the bright idea that I was going to go back to law school. I remember telling him that I was going to do that. And he was, kind of like, "Are you sure?" He's always been one to let you make a mistake. But I went to law school, spent several years as a trial lawyer, and hated every single minute of it. I mean, we weren't a well-respected firm, and I was trying to negotiate insurance claims, and we were treated terribly. I finally saw that the only pathway to getting better deals was to go try some cases and win. So that was the only fun part of the job, was I actually got to try a handful of cases, won them all, got to kick Allstate's butt a few times, so that was fun. But the rest of it I hated, and I was grinding away 60, 70 hours a week and not doing great for many of our clients. And I realized, like, this is not a high integrity job. It's not how I want to spend my time. So that's when I kind of went back to home improvement, and Rodney kind of was kind enough to give me a pathway back to come work for him. And, never looked back. Spent eight plus years on the road working with dozens of roofing companies all across North America. And that was challenging, fun, hard work. But to watch people really succeed, watch businesses grow and change, watch the people inside those businesses be able to buy their first house, have their first kid, really take care of their families. It was hugely gratifying. Like, I loved every minute of it. The only problem with it was I spent so much time away from my family, a lot of time on the road, 200 days a year. We were doing great work, but it was starting to take a toll on me. So I had the opportunity this past year to part ways with Rodney, which was a tough breakup. I still remember him fondly, and I wish the best of those guys. But I got to so I'm now with a private equity-backed roofing platform. Everyone knows private equity's invading the roofing space. But I caught on with a good group of guys, smart guys, and we're going to do it the right way. So no regrets at all. I mean, I love what I'm doing now, especially, but I've loved my journey too. I wouldn't even trade back the law degree part. I mean, it was an education that you can't, I'll always have, and I learned plenty that still helps me today. So no regrets.
I've actually interviewed quite a few lawyers who's in the roofing space now, and the same thing. I think we're changing perspective on roofing, and actually, I think storm chasing gives us bad name. We have a lot of guys in the industry, your door knockers, and it's almost like a negative term. Like I always say, used car salespeople used to have a bad name. Today is a roofer who is like in your face, hard sale pressure.
That's right.
Working with insurance claim for proceeds, stealing yard signs from each other.
Yeah.
Knocking, not soliciting doors. I mean, just in general, roofers do have a bad name, but I see it especially with the equity firms, it's changing. The image of the roofer. Now we see roofers who are more respected. How does equity equity plays changing the industry in your opinion? What do you see? Because you've been with Radnor with a lot of successful guys,
Right.
not with small companies, but now we have those and we have equity players.
I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of really professionalized roofing companies, the companies that could afford to hire Rodney and that were willing to make those changes in their business to start to move forward. But that's what I see happening now that you see more and more private equity firms is there's a professionalization that's coming with the industry. The integrity level seems to be raising, not so many people trying to cheat on their work comp insurance, like the little small changes that speak to a modernized, more professional industry. That's what's coming. So I see it as pretty positive. Not all private equity groups are created equal, as you well know, and as people are probably starting to learn. So, finding the right people that align in your beliefs, that want to do things the right way and treat people really well, while infusing capital into the business so that you can grow and you can do the things that are good for the salespeople and good for the customers. That's what's going to improve the overall integrity and quality of our industry. And I see it starting to happen. Roofing was already heading that way. Now it's just accelerating. It's pretty exciting.
Can you give advice to a business owner who runs solid shop, good on cash, good on money, and have a lot of offers to sell, because now I feel like everybody's competing.
Oh yeah,
Private equity almost became like those marketers and shark loans, right? Like, hey, we want some capital. Like they're after you, and average roofer receives so many offers.
that's
Give
right.
advice to someone who is on that receiving end.
Yeah, ask all the questions. That interview process, due diligence process goes both ways. Getting to know who you're potentially working with and finding somebody that you want to work with every day. I mean, you're going to be most of these deals. Deal structure matters, right? Are you selling the entire business? Are you keeping equity and rolling it into the platform potentially? That creating that alignment of interest where everyone's rowing in the same direction. They're trying to work together. That's super important. So the correct deal structure, and then the correct people. Like, find somebody that has a vision and a strategy for how they want to improve your business. What kind of capital infusion are they going to do? What's the playbook? How are they going to, improve the quality of the business? Sometimes that business may run great already and not need a ton of adjustments, but do they have a vision for how they can specifically help your business? That's the critical question you should be asking then. Who's involved? How much do they know? Are they just a bunch of bankers? Or are they a bunch of business guys who have done roll-ups before? Or do they have some actual industry knowledge and know the roofing space, know what it's like to be in a home, know what it's like to be on a roof potentially? I think all of those are things that you got to evaluate really critically to make sure it's a good partnership, right?
How many companies are you gonna buy? Your firm gonna buy in 2025? What's your goal?
We're not in a rush. We're kind of picky. We want to do the right deals with the right partners more than anything. The people matter the most.
What's your
to us, too.
criteria? Like, do you buy storm chasers? Do you buy in certain markets, or like, how do you pick companies? What are you looking for?
We like a retail. We want to be highly diversified, right? Like, we're not scared of insurance payers and people who do storm work. That's a necessary part of the business that's not going away. And almost geographically, I mean, some markets deal with it a lot more, but you have to know how to operate with insurance companies. So that doesn't scare us off, but we like a retail model too. We want to be diverse in terms of business mix. We want to be diverse in terms of geography, and we want to do a couple of deals a year to answer your original question. We'd be fine to do 1 or 2 deals this year. If a third one came along that was a really good situation with the right partner, we'd consider that too. But we're certainly not going to, some of these guys are going out and doing 6 to 8 deals a year and band-aiding these things together. That's not our strategy. That's not who we want to be. We want to work with the right people, right places, and build a world-class business.
Last question. What impressed you, product or service that you've seen here so far on the show?
Man, so I'll admit this is my first IRE. In my previous role, it wasn't something I did. I didn't go to a lot of conferences unless I was being invited to speak by you. So I've been highly impressed with the overall quality of the show. I mean, the number of vendors here and the number of really high quality booths is impressive. Just to shout out one that I thought was cool. I wasn't familiar with Get the Referral. I thought that was they've got a cool program where they, white label an app for you and gamify how customers can send referrals. I thought that was a cool program. Saw a bunch of safety stuff I wasn't aware of. So we can make sure everybody goes home safe at the end of the day with some of those things. But overall, IRE has been super impressive. I love it. It's great.
Thank you for stopping by, brother.
Yeah, man, it's great to see you.